Hello, welcome to MzansiOz Diary. My name is Connie. If you're new here, you're very much welcome. So today's video, we're going to talk about the South African politics and looking at one particular person called Julius Malema. So Julius Malema, I hear a lot of diaspora seem to have a little bit of nostalgia about Julius Malema, and are kind of like thinking, what the heck are you, what do you, what are you talking about? Why do you think this person should be actually even be considered to be a South African president or even be in parliament for that matter? So I'm going to put in a couple of video clips to highlight to you about why Julius Malema EFF as a party is doomed. Why it's so doomed. It was doomed from the beginning, and it's now very clear that it's actually not going to survive. So we're first going to start and looking at this video of an American Phil Scott being nostalgic about him, and I'll come back and give you some comment about it. Let's listen.
So this was the election results that happened in South Africa. As you can see on the screen here, it's from the IEC. This is here. They only had 58% voter turnout out of 100%. So I guess a lot of people chose the couch. They didn't vote at all, okay? So I like how they do that they put the voter turnout percentage right there, and they just have it like national. I really kind of like how they do this. I wish the United States would have theirs like this, so we can just go to one website and we can just see, the voter turnout. We can see just the different areas. Of course, America's a bigger country, but still, I just kind of like how they did this. All right, so in this election here, the ANC got about 12.6 million votes, 40% of the vote. So they end up getting 159 seats in parliament out of 400, you can see. There's two major stories here in this election. DA, the folks, okay? DA, the Reformed National Party. If you know anything about apartheid, you know the National Party was their original party, okay? They remixed the National Party and created DA. DA is led by a Afrikaner, white man, whatever you want to call him, I don't care. John Steenhausen. Yes, I said I don't care because that's not really too important to me in this message. They got 21.8% of the vote, and they got 87 seats. MK, new party, with former South African President Jacob Zuma. If you know anything about Jacob Zuma, you need to learn your geopolitics, ladies and gentlemen. It's very important. They got 4.5 million votes, 14% of the vote. They got 58 seats. Now the EFF, they got 3 million votes, 9.52% of the support. They actually went down in votes, just like the ANC went down in votes. And they got 39 seats this time. Now they got the IFP party that you see here. The Inkatha Freedom Party, 1.3 million. They got about 17 seats. And you got the PA, which is Patriotic Alliance. As you can see, 9. And you can see all these different parties got so many seats here, Action SA and all the seats kind of stop when you get down to this party right here. But now, in South Africa, even Rise Mzansi, remember the brother that did the interview with Renelwe with Rise Mzansi? They even got 2 seats and everything. So that's interesting because they're a brand new party with a lot of young people in it. But one thing I kind of like about South Africa in a way, you see all these different parties they have that can participate. They don't have like a 2-party cartel like we have in America. And any kind of time you have a third party, the Democrats and the Republicans work to throw out that third party candidate any way they can. The media colludes with the 2-party cartel in America. But they claim it's a democracy. So to me, having all of these parties in a way it's democracy. It's definitely a better democracy in a way, in my opinion. I think we should be able to have all these parties like this in America if we want to create parties, right? But the only bad thing on top of that is with so many parties, votes get siphoned off different places, right? EFF is the party everybody calls. When there's some racism, they call the EFF, no matter what. But when it comes to going out to vote, people aren't voting like they're calling the EFF when there's an issue or a problem. Now, let me play what Brother Julius had to say, and then we'll just follow up, behind that, and we'll get into talking about DA a little bit as well. So let's go ahead on and get this. Where's the video? There's Brother Malema. Okay, right there.
The people of South Africa must swallow what they've decided to chew. And they decided to chew 40% of the ANC. So why should you field a presidential candidate for what? That's what they said they want. Why do they go and make decisions and they hope someone is going to rescue them from the other side? It's their own decision. They chose load shedding. They chose Ramaphosa. They chose the highest level of unemployment. They chose racism. That's what they chose. So if the ANC fails to come together with progressive formations, we are prepared to sit back. But let's tell you, we'll fully participate in this parliament. And this time around, we've taken a decision not to play a role of a disruption, of being robust, of engaging to a point where we follow up that which was rejected illegally in parliament through peaceful protest on the streets. You will never see us on the stage. You will never see us fighting with any bouncer, anything of that sort. We are here as a 10-year-old organization with mature parliamentary politics, well experienced to make sure that the views of those who voted for us are well represented. From now onwards, when you say there is a racist at our work, we check the historical tweeting of yours. If you have been tweeting ANC, DA, go and fight with those white people alone. Mature parliamentary politics, well experienced to make sure that the views of those who voted for us are well represented. From now onwards, when you say there is a racist at our work, we check the historical tweeting of yours. If you have been tweeting ANC, DA, go and fight with those white people alone. There is a racist at our work. We check the historical tweeting of yours. If you have been tweeting ANC, DA, go and fight with those white people alone. We are now representing our own people who have been supporting us. Scatter, well, with our people. So we are well within our right. We have not lost our support. The base that we started with in 2014 were not there. Anyone who says we're back there is not true.
I mean, my view with this is that people should be able to be empowered to be able to advocate for themselves. They don't need to have politicians to go and advocate for them. They should be given tools, education, and knowledge about their own constitution and their own democracy, so that they know when they're faced with these issues, they can who to go, how to address this, instead of having Julius Malema to come to their workplace. That's number one. Number two, Julius Malema is a politician under the umbrella of EFF. Now, what are the policies that he has put in place that have changed South Africans' life? What are the policies that he's put in place? Or has he contributed to that has resulted in policy changes in how the outcome of South Africans, the outcome of working South Africans, these low-income South Africans, those who are still today, after the end of apartheid, are still living in poverty? What policy has he put in place that actually changes this trajectory? There's none. There's none. In fact, what he actually advocate for South Africa to be borderless. So now let's go and listen to the next clip. been questioned about his views in relation to his this matter of borderless South Africa. What he thinks about it, why he keeps on talking about this, while it's not a popular thing among South Africans. For good reason, like I've just mentioned now, that there has not been a change since the end of apartheid for those people. Okay, no change whatsoever. In fact, it has worsened. So let's listen.
We have never had borders. I've never created borders. I cannot be responsible for borders. Decoloniality means that you do away with the things that were imposed on us by colonizers. You can't say we don't want colonizers, but you want borders. What type of an argument is that? We need a borderless Africa the same way we have a borderless Europe. We're not asking for something that is not done somewhere in the world. We need free movement of goods and persons. But those people must be documented. We say to South Africans, take IDs. How do you say to South Africans they must take IDs and then other people must not have documents? No one must move in South Africa or Africa without documents so that we can locate you if there is.
The brain, Malema's brain, he doesn't seem to be using his frontal lobe. His frontal lobe is not being used here. He's just using his limbic system, and he's just not, there is no reasoning here. This reasoning is flawed in so many levels. First of all, South Africa and their neighboring country, except for a few countries like Eswatini, Botswana and Lesotho, that have similar culture and language, the rest of these countries don't. And even with the countries that we have those similar language and culture, they do have different way of doing things. They don't have the similar laws as South Africa. They're so different. And then on top of that, the biggest problem for South Africa is being surrounded by dictators. Got Zimbabwe, and you got Mozambique. And recently you saw in Mozambique that the riots that broke out of Mozambique due to people not accepting the outcome of election. So, and then he wants South Africa to be exposed to these people. It's already a high number of crimes committed by migrants in South Africa that are reported by the government. You can get that statistics from the government website. They report that every quarter, the crime level they commit. Why is South Africa importing crimes? They already have criminals in South Africa. You know, don't come here and say that, oh, South Africa has criminals. We know they do, but they also have limited resources in South Africa. They do have limited resources. That means those resources must be used wisely to tackle the issues of violence that exists since apartheid system. That has not been addressed. Okay, so this man has no brain. Literally no brain. Okay, let's listen to the next clip of a political analyst that's giving us some background about why EFF is doomed to fail.
Your views on what we've seen today and what possibly could be happening?
Let's start here. This stuff in politics is not surprising. It happens. Let's start next door in Zimbabwe. Mugabe and Mnangagwa, president and deputy president, had a massive fallout. Mnangagwa had to walk on foot from Zimbabwe through Mozambique to South Africa. That's one. Let's come back to South Africa. You had Thabo Mbeki and Jacob Zuma, president and deputy president, massive fallout. We have seen that. Outside the ANC COP, you had Mbazi Mashilowa and Muswali Kota, president and deputy president, massive fallout. So this is a fallout of young chaps. They are not the first to fall out. But here is the thing. When people who have been close fall out, whatever they built together will never be the same again. So what does this mean? This is the end of the EFF. It is actually, the EFF is being phased out of South African politics. It will take a good 10 years for it to disappear completely, but it will disappear. Julius Malema was the face of the EFF. Floyd Shivambu was the brain of the EFF. So you now have an EFF that is left only with a face. Even that face, by the way, is not looking good. You saw at the press conference, the guy has even lost weight in a day. The brain is gone. So if we are looking at the future of South Africa, we must think of the EFF as a thing of the past.
You've mentioned 2 points that maybe I want us to tackle, the face and the brain. If you are to form a political party, you need both in actual fact, because what we've ever often heard about Floyd is that he brings that intellectual depth, but Julius Malema is the mobilizer. You cannot have one without the other if you're going to form a strong, formidable opposition in this country. You need both. That's the first one. But the second, the examples that you've given us of the fallouts, whether it be Thabo Mbeki and former President Jacob Zuma, Mnangagwa and Robert Mugabe, in these instances, it seemed that the fallout was not confusing, it was apparent. But here, never have we seen what we saw today, which is a fallout where both men are so cordial. They hold a press briefing together. You even have the deputy president stating where he is going. That for some was quite peculiar, wouldn't you say?
No, it's not. Let's first address your first point. You're correct. You do need a face and a brain in any political project for it to be successful. That's why Julius and Floyd, they knew this from the beginning, that we have different roles. Julius, you are the face, you are the loud mouth. Floyd, you are the guy who must sit behind a computer and write 7 cardinals and principles, whatever they call that.
The cardinal pillars.
Exactly. So yes, but that is broken. Now we've got a hollow head that is there, it's a face, and there's no brain. So let's park that. But let's come to the second point you are making about the cordiality of their divorce. You know why? Because they know each other so well that they are aware that they cannot afford to spill beans about each other. These people have done a lot together, including corruption. Remember, they attended that meeting with Matodzi to accept bribes from VBS together. So Floyd knows.
According to Matodzi, of course, because we need to remain fair, that in their absence here, we cannot say, remember, they had the meeting. According to Matodzi,
but no one has denied that meeting, by the way. Dalim Pofi confirmed that that meeting took place. They themselves have not denied that meeting.
But the contents thereof, what was discussed.
That the money actually flowed, nobody has denied that. The point of dispute, was it a bribe?
Yes, or a donation.
Exactly.
Yes.
I call it a bribe. I'll die for my sins. Don't worry about me. So here's the thing. They've done a lot together, these two. So they know they cannot afford to spill beans about each other. That's why they have to be cordial. You can put a gun to Floyd's head. He will never tell you what Julius did, because he knows if he were to do that, he would be implicating himself. So that's why I was not surprised. They will defend each other to the grave, because they know that if they were to spill beans, that would actually be suicide on both their part.
So you believe the theory by some, just like Professor Susan Boyson stated, that she also was entertaining that theory, that possibly there's a grand plan here of some sort of amalgamation of these two political parties. You say there's nothing of that sort.
No, there isn't.
They've had a fallout.
No, it's a genuine fallout. Here's the thing. Floyd is going to MK. You see, people must not read a lot into this MK stuff. Floyd had very few options. One, he couldn't form his own party. He doesn't have the money and the means to form his party. Number two, he's not even a charismatic man. So he knew he wouldn't go that route. That's option number one that he had. Option number two is to go back to the ANC. He has enough enemies in the ANC to go back there. And also, the list of ANC unemployed people from parliament, the previous parliament, who are there one position, is so long that Floyd knew that he was going to be at the back. The only option was, where does he find a political home that will protect him. Because remember, he could be arrested by the orders of VBS. My theory.
But how would Mkhonto protect him when you've got the former president or the president of Mkhonto currently in the courts?
Exactly.
Why would he be protected?
He looked for a home where you have a largest concentration of people who are facing criminal stuff from the president himself. So if you go to a home like that, you can be protected.
No, but the EFF, they've actually had their own president, their own leader has sat in a court bench.
So in this previous video, they're discussing the departure of Floyd, who many think Floyd Chibangu is the brain behind the EFF. So he's left EFF, he's moved to MK Party, the new party that was formed by Jacob Zuma, the former South African president. He formed a new party. So the EFF is actually another defection from ANC. So ANC now has had about two defections. There's an EFF, Julius Malema as a youth leader, sort of many 10 years ago, and jumped the first ship from the ANC and formed the EFF. And then now we have Floyd Chibangu jumping the ship from the sinking ship from the EFF into MK Party. So the video they're discussing that as well about that. They also, the next video we're going to listen to Floyd Chibangu while he was at the EFF being asked about the EFF policies.
We can't overlook statements that have been made by the leader of your party in the past. Now that we're talking about migrants in South Africa,
yes,
that they ought to find, quote unquote, creative ways to get into South Africa, because if it were for the EFF, there would be a doing away with these superficial borders. So how do you marry that, what you're saying is the super exploitation of migrants versus those kinds of statements?
No, the EFF, by the way, has never advocated for illegal immigration into South Africa. We are of the view that everyone else must be documented, but by the fact that there are people who are here, we cannot then mistreat them because they've come in illegally. And the context of what the president and commander-in-chief said was during the COVID.
So the next video we're going to listen to Dr. Uma Johnson sort of sums up the issues around migration into South Africa. What are the key social issues? And Uma Johnson is a psychologist and actually gives a really good summary of why EFF policy is a big problem for South Africans.
A lot of the xenophobia is economically related, because what happens is you live in South Africa. Right. He lives in Namibia, hypothetically.
Right. It's the classes you mean?
No, stay with me.
Yeah.
So you are boycotting your job because y'all want higher pay. So they come to Namibia and tell you, get me 100 Namibians, come to South Africa, we need y'all to break this protest. Mm-hmm. You hungry, you got kids to feed, so guess what you do? You come across national lines and you break the South African protest. Now you just gave birth to that xenophobia. Why would you bring your black ass to my country and sabotage my fight for better pay? You see that?
Okay.
So EFF has issued a statement about Niger, what's happening in Niger, in Burkina Faso, and I'm going to put this statement here. You can pause the video and you can read it yourself. And then after this, I will play a clip of a response of a South African EFF voter. Okay, what is their response about this? Because this is actually highlighting what South Africans have been saying all along, that EFF is scamming you all. Those of you who are following for this Pan-Africanist, you have been bamboozled. Okay, let's roll the clip.
does Julius Malema stand for? What does he stand for? Who does he work for? It's shocking. It's shocking. I mean, I remember watching what was happening in Niger. You know, being a South African, I was very much behind them. I was very much behind them. And I'm very proud as well with what is happening in Burkina Faso. Under the leadership of Ibrahim Traore, he liberated his people in a true sense of liberation as an African leader, requiring no aid or no support from the AU whatsoever. That is what true Pan-Africanist means. Then you cannot be here nor there. You can't be saying something else and acting otherwise. And everybody else we are all expected to be fooled and to be ignorant. We can't all be naive. We are not naive. That statement on its own, do you hear yourself? AU must isolate Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali. No, something is not right here. Let's repeat it.
There was a coup in Mali. There was a coup in Burkina Faso. The continent seems to be regressing.
Absolutely, and that is something that we said the AU should be firm, that such countries which engage in such activities must be isolated. We don't need military to...
Imagine. I leave that one to you, Mzansi and Africa. Let's just have this discussion. What is the true meaning of a Pan-African? What do we mean when we say we want Africa to be liberated and to start benefiting from its resources? You know, one other thing we need to talk about is, who does Julius Malema really represent? What does he stand for, in a nutshell, as far as this vision is concerned, to liberate Africa? Queen Lebomkize, Mother of the Nation. Shalom, shalom.
Yes, after you've listened to that video and after that statement that was issued by EFF, and then he then went out and had a press conference, now insulting South African, robbing South Africans of their own heritage. All right, and I'm going to play this video how he was doing that. This is a Pan-Africanist for all of you Americans. All of you have this nostalgia about him. This is a scam. Like I've been telling you all about, Pan-Africanism is a scam. Okay, don't know people who talk about the way this man talks about have no idea. Yeah. Anyway, he went over and spoke, insulting us South Africans. And I'm going to play the clip. Now come back and give you all my analysis.
We call people Zimbabweans. We call people Malawians. We call people who come from outside Makwerekwere. Whereas we are Makwerekwere ourselves, because we come from where those people come from. None of us come from here. We came from the north and found the Khoi and the San here in Southern Africa, and we settled here. The Khoi and the San welcomed us here. So we should welcome others as well, the same way we were welcomed here. Know your history. You will appreciate our fellow brothers and sisters from Africa.
So in this video, Malema is uttering the Bantu migration that has no evidence. All the profession, geneticists, the anthropologists, the historian have refuted that, and is actually been highly regarded as actually colonial concept that was uttered by the colonialists to justify grabbing the land, the South African land, to say others had no claim to the land. The only people had claimed a small group in Cape Town, Khoisan group. So this claim, it actually, it is a very racial charge Bantu migration because it has been refuted and doesn't have evidence that it ever existed. It's actually similar to terra nullius. Terra nullius is that British colonials used the terra nullius to deny Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders claim to their lands by saying that the Australia was no man's land, land belongs to no one, terra nullius, until in 1992, where the Mabo case, that claim of terra nullius was challenged, and Mabo won that case in the High Court of Australia, where they've recognised as Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders have a native claim to their land. That Bantu migration that he was uttering, that everyone else was immigrants, it is actually rooted in that Bantu migration, and it actually has been really in South African context that it is actually a white nationalist trope to deny South Africans of their native land and title. So this man is uttering that. And then he tells you all that he is a Pan-Africanist. He cares about Africans. Make this make sense, okay? This one, I'm just giving you the video and actually the response of people. So I'm actually going to look at people's response because this just happened today. Today is the 5th of January. Actually, it happened yesterday, the 4th. So there's a lot of comments from the ex-user. Some of them are saying that, Julius just said to you guys the 1913 Land Act was a hoax. Julius, nobody stole your land. That is what Julius is saying in this clip alone. So here's a Julius. So I'm going to play a video. This video is a parody, guys. But it sort of sums up the whole issues that surrounds the immigrations in South Africa and other matters in this parody video. Obviously, the person is trying to mimic an accent. That's not a South African accent, but it is a parody. Okay, let's listen.
Guys, I'm wanting to make a video talking about how difficult the life has become for the foreign criminals in South Africa. I come here because Julius Malema, he say they want the foreigners here in South Africa and the foreign criminals. So I'm like, okay, here's land of opportunity. So I arrive in Joburg and I'm giving the EFF councillor 2,000 rand. And they're giving me the South African green ID book, just like that. I'm stealing somebody's identity. But now, guys, this new thing, the GNU, Government National Unity, is very big problem for us foreign criminals. Is causing big issues. So there's the issue with these whites, okay? This guy, Leon Schreiber from Home Affairs, okay? He's blocking the IDs that are stolen and he's looking for the foreign criminals like me. So I'm like, hunted rat, Then this guy, Peter Grunewald, what is head of these prisons, man. 5 years ago, I'm in prison. It's like health spa for me. I have the sauna, I have the TV, I have the prostitutes, even the female prostitutes if I want. But now this guy, Grunewald, is making the prison is like scary place. I'm not one going for prison again. So guys, I'm thinking maybe I retire from crime. And instead, I enter Miss South Africa. What do you think? You think I win?
Yep. That's actually true what he was talking about. It's a parody, but it's based on the truth. In the next video I'm going to play is Julius Malema talking about and telling all South Africans who are working in as chef, as waiters, that that job, it's a slave job. So South Africans and immigrants who are working in these jobs are working as slave jobs. This is the party that wears these uniform that mimic workers in South Africa who are working as cleaners. These the uniform were actually designed during the apartheid to actually identify blacks who were workers. So they gave them these type of attire to wear, the uniform. So the party, wanted to relate to this group, and hence a lot of them, you see them in parliament wearing this red, ridiculous looking uniform, to sort of portray themselves as people who actually understand the low income people. It's a scam. It's a scam. This video highlight that exactly. This was always a scam. Told you all. Get out there. There's so many parties. So the parties, how many parties are in South Africa. So you've got so many choices. Okay, but I'll play this video, and that will be the final video.
If you say to me, I've got 5 chefs that are South Africans, and there are 5 Zimbabwean chefs who took their job, give me those names. I can take them anywhere and say, here are the South Africans chefs who want to work. Give me anyone. South Africans want quality paying jobs. They don't want slaves jobs. If you say to me, I've got...
A lot of the xenophobia is economically related because what happens is you live in South Africa.
Right.
He lives in Namibia, hypothetically.
Right. It's the classes you mean?
No, stay with me.
Yeah.
So you are boycotting your job because y'all want higher pay. So they come to Namibia and tell you, get me 100 Namibians, come to South Africa, we need y'all to break this protest. You hungry, you got kids to feed, so guess what you do? You come across national lines and you break the South African protest. Now you just gave birth to that xenophobia. Why would you bring your black ass to my country and sabotage my fight for better pay? You see that?
Okay.
So this video sums up the whole, sentiments around Julius Malema and EFF as a party. So please don't offend South Africans by keep saying that they should be voting for EFF. Okay? So don't do that. Try to understand what's going on in South Africa, specifically around the EFF and Julius Malema. For you all, he seems like a person that would be good, but for South Africa, he's a nightmare. Okay? Try to be sympathetic and understanding. That's all. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. Only if you find value in the context that I post a lot of stuff, a commentary in the context of leadership and understanding culture between South Africa and Australia. So I'm a South African expat, live in Adelaide, South Australia. Yes, this is where it's my home now, so I try to bridge the gap by explaining history and concept, the nuances of culture and politics in South Africa and Australia. Thank you guys for listening. Have a lovely day. Bye.